Hi, welcome back to FutureFast. And today we have Srinivas, our guest. But before I introduce Srinivas, for those of you who are here for the first time, FutureFast is an effort to bring in people who are doing things that are potentially having an impact on the future. And also, we try to understand their journey and what are they trying to do from a point of being prepared for the future and possible threats, if any, and also get some pointers which could potentially help in our own businesses as how we can prepare better to face the future. And the whole idea is that we get ourselves ready to ride the future than being led. Right? That's the whole
Yeah.
effort of it. And also in the process, we'll try to get our guests to make some predictions that talk about their perspective on the future as well. And having said that, I hope you're enjoying the conversation till now and also excited to be part of this conversation. So, Srinivas, welcome to FutureFast. And Srinivas is the founder and CEO of Vigyan Labs. And what exactly he's doing and what is his journey, we'll hear it from his own words. Srinivas.
Hello. Yes. Yeah.
So, coming from being a professional in very large corporations, right? I mean, it is very difficult to quit such jobs. So, what can you share about your journey from being a professional to the entrepreneur that you are?
Yeah. I think just a couple of points. Being an entrepreneur was always with me, right? Always. Because if you just go back to my school childhood, right? I always used to create something, right? Create something. We used to have exhibition, science exhibition. We used to create something and showcase things. Right? We had made quite a few things. Probably, we were just focused on studies at the time, but always we used to create something, right? Something different for the showcase, and because we never turned into a business because we focus on studying, go higher studies, right? That was the aim. So when I joined, basically before I even joined, right? Before I took my plunge into the enterprise, the company, large corporates. After I did my master's, I spent a year in IIT Bombay, where I did research. Okay, I was doing a little bit of research, R&D for a year. One of the interesting things we made, I would say myself and colleague, Nitin, we had actually invented the Ethernet switching at the time in 1991, 92. Yeah. We made a product because our aim was to interconnect all the departments. Computers were there, already there, but they were not connected. Okay. I had to go all the way from my hostel to the library and find out that book is borrowed by somebody. And in Mumbai, it rains and you walk 2 kilometers and find out book is not there. You again go back, walk another 2 kilometers. So that's frustrating. I spoke to my professor, told me, tell me what you want to do, right? And let me figure out what I can do. I said, we need a sort of a bridging interconnection between the various networks. And I just told him roughly is the kind of, I need some funding, right? Money to build this, make this work, right? I needed a few lakh rupees. It's a lot of money actually in 1991. So more the professor SSP Rao, he's no longer there today, but he's fondly known as Prow. He's instrumental in taking me to the director of IIT and telling him that hey, this very interesting thing. We have a lot of networks in the campus not interconnected. People need to go around, walk around in a long way by campus. We seem to have an exciting idea. Can you get some funding, right? So I just got the funding was a couple of PCs, high-end PCs. Of course, my project work expenses and everything. So I got a couple of lakh rupees and started that. So when I made this product, it was a game changer for the probably IIT campus. The first time we built a product, software, right? Software product. And then which could interconnect, it was when I could see the joy in many of the faculty, the departments. Sitting in the department, they could connect to the main building, the administrative blocks, the libraries. I think the biggest thing for the professor was sitting in the departments and logging to a library and check the books are available or not. That was a big, big
Alright.
game changer. That's became a big hit. Then the professor said, why don't you make it a hardware box? So I got a little more funding. We tried to make a hardware box out of it, and then we figured out somewhere on the line. I don't think we had enough money, right? Funds to make a hardware, a bridge, a L3 switch, what we call today, hardware.
Right.
And I said, okay, let me go out and figure out companies which are doing similar work. Can I do something? So at the same time, Hughes Network Systems was starting in India. So probably was the right time I moved to Delhi there. And then I just moved work between Delhi and US, where we built an amazing networking products, right? Network readers. We won the Introp. We won the Product of the Year award. We won many awards, right? We made quite a few exciting networking products there. So I could do some things there, what I could not do, but still, couldn't do many things. Large corporations have its own constraints, right? Marketing, sales, your constraints. Okay?
Right.
I spent about 3 years in Hughes, been hopping between Delhi and Washington DC. But it was an amazing journey. Gave me exposure to building products in large corporates, working with the sales team, marketing team, understanding the business side of it, and how remotely sitting in India you can build great products, right? Products to the world, rest of the world. Then I think that's why I think so then after that I moved to Bangalore. Spent a decade and a half, more than a decade in Hewlett Packard in Bangalore. So I was, we had just one small office in Cunningham Road. Which today I think is there, opposite Sunman, there's a small office. Initially we were seated in the DBS, then we moved to the small office, number 29 Cunningham Road. Today it's a small office, and we were about 40, 45 people. Everybody knew each other very well.
It was called ISO or something.
ISO,
right?
HPISO, yes. Number 29 Cunningham Road.
Right.
That was where we started. I got to work on a couple of HP products. And product engineering was there, and then somewhere down the line, then there was a large project called Airline reservation system in Amadeus, which we had to transform. It was running on mainframes. We had to transform it to an open system of it, because all the reservation systems in the world were running on mainframes. I think probably there's a first attempt made. And then during the journey, it was an amazing project. We had to hire a lot of new people, and we built a great team, amazing team. And we made an amazing product. Everything for the product had to be designed from scratch. Because open systems were not there, right? Hardware was new design, operating system was newly designed. And entire, it was built in C++.
You must have been the envy of all your peers, right? Not many such work was happening in India those days.
Yeah, so we were, I remember Lou Platt, the CEO of HP, came to India at the time. They looked at what we were doing. He looked at this whole project and said that it's a jewel in the crown from Hewlett Packard. It was a big, big kudos to the team. And we delivered the project. And today, Stolstrup was one of the author of the famous writer of C++, wrote that this was probably the most complex C++ project ever done. Right. Look back today, the kind of learning we had in the project. We built everything pretty much scratch. There was no library. It was first multi-threads in the operating system. We actually built our own database, because the commercial database were not able to meet our performance goals. Right? We built our database, everything you think of. We just had a compiler, no libraries. But it was the first version of C++ compiler available in the market. We built everything from scratch. The library functions, everything you can think of. It's an amazing thing. We look back today, every person who worked in the team is a CXO or a big change maker in some in the world. 15 people core team was an amazing team, right? Pretty much everybody is a CTO, CAO, COO, somewhere in the CEO, somewhere in the world. Right? Because the kind of learning we had in 2 years, it just was amazing, right?
That is so true for every good team, right? I mean, every time a good team, I don't know how it happens, but it just organically happens. But each one turns out to be creating. Nowadays, I think last I saw was there was a infographic of a Tesla mafia. Basically, the core guys who worked in the initial days of Tesla, all of them have gone out and set up their own businesses, and each one has raised multi-million dollars of funding, and a couple of them have even been listed companies. So you could potentially call it what, your HP ISO mafia?
Yeah, I could see. There's a saying, right? And I just see often Richard Branson tells, right? It's a famous quote here. If something looks amazing, right? Just don't worry about, just jump in there, jump in the bandwagon. You can somehow figure out how to do it, right? So it was probably a biggest change maker for, I would say from the HP perspective in India and all of us, right? Because we had a tough deadline, right? 99.99 availability, 2 millisecond response time, achieve on a server processor which had 100 megahertz. I'm sure even the toy today we have, your smartwatch will be more powerful and with a 32 MB of RAM. It was unheard of. People today, when I talk about it, people laugh about it. That was the kind of hardware we had. So we had to fit everything into that one. So it's a lot of effort went into making things, right? And so that was an amazing journey. And during the journey, we invented a lot of things. Okay. Invented. And, I filed the first patent for HP in India because I never knew anything about IP. What I missed out in IIT, right? IIT Mumbai. I wish I had patented it. Then here I worked with the HP attorneys worldwide, learned about how to file a patent, how to understand. So that's where it began. And in my journey, HP had the opportunity to file
in this context, Srinivas, I just want to ask, how does working with highly competent people, right? Both mostly technical, and what kind of you also mentioned that most of those people went about becoming leaders in other companies or set up their own businesses as well. So, when highly competent people are also highly egoistic, right? I mean, it's also very organic because you are highly competent, you're also highly confident, and working. This is a supremely collaborative effort. So,
I think we had frictions, we had discussions, and couple of things. We had a great management, right? We had a very good manager. So I governed as a manager. The HP India CEO was Craig Chetman. So I think one of the things I learned about this was people care. How you take care of people, right? Really, So I think, there are some very good principles in the HP way. Takes that you have a high power team, take care of the people, work takes care of itself, right? Of course, we had frictions, arguments, bets and all. We won something, we won. Even with the customer, we had a bet, right? So one of the customers, told me that, customers told me, I don't think you'll be able to achieve so much of throughput performance in a given month. I remember, he offered us, he lost the bet. And we won, he got us a crate of beer, but I don't drink. But I said, let the other guys in Germany share for it. So, we had arguments, heated arguments, but I think in the end, sense prevailed, right? Well, we had a goal to achieve. See, of course, there some of the arguments helped us to do better, right? Somebody said, there's a way, right? Of course, we didn't have WhatsApp, social media there, but we had arguments were there. Of course, this which is the right way to do, right? And
well,
in the end, there was so much pressure, deadlines.
Correct, but it is quite complex also, right? Because sometimes it's not easy top-down management versus managing a lot of very strong independent minds, right?
Yeah. But I think because the kind of pressure we had, deadlines were there. So we had almost next to impossible deadlines, right? Deadlines, literally such stuff, almost we worked up insane hours, right? 12 hours, 15 hours, because there's no internet, right? So we had to come.
So I don't remember where I read it, but there is so much of talk about stress being a negative thing, but stress is a great binder of great minds also, because when the stress is so high, people let go of their ego and try to work together to resolve it. So is that some kind of a situation you were in as well?
Yes, of course, just I think we had, issues there, but I think overall, we had so much of pressure to deliver, and we all knew that it was the impossible project, right? Everybody termed as impossible. Let us make it possible, right? And everybody had to innovate in the way, right? In the way some people are very process oriented, they diligently did something. Some people were come with new ideas, and we had to figure out, I don't think we could, sit down and having meetings, right? We had to deliver things. So, for instance, we were in direct touch with the customer. The customers came to India. They were burning a lot of money in the maintenance of the mainframe.
Right.
We had so much of time pressure. And one thing for the HP in India, the management did everything to support, right? In terms of taking good care of people. It's very, very supportive, right? Encouraging and supporting. So I think that made, quite a big difference, right? The way people work, right?
And another thing is companies like HP those days, people work. It was like the single job, right? I mean, people don't
Yeah, yeah.
really think of moving out of it. So what
Yeah.
made you move out? Of course, you did spend almost more than one generation, right? 10 years.
Yeah,
plus.
yeah. No, see, always had something in mind to build something, right? On my own, right? Do something different, right? So we're building so many things, and we always, I traveled all around the world, built, worked with many customers around the world. I always want to do something back home, right? Can we do some products for the local market? Can we do something here? It was always in the mind. I was always, so once we had accomplished, something, we knew that, somewhere we could figure out, right? Figure out. We said, unless you jump out, right? Until you jump into the water, you'll never learn swimming, right? But start somewhere, right?
Correct.
Always in the mind to build something. But, some one day decided, right? Let's do something, right? Let's figure out.
Is that just a long-standing thought, or was there some particular trigger that got you jumping into it?
I think we tried in 2000, before just before the 9/11, right? We had planned, but again, 9/11 happened. And the investors went away, literally, right? Went away. So we didn't have a choice. So we said, okay, now next time, if you just wait to start, even the seed fund, you start, the investor on board from day one. What if the investor, luckily the investor went away before we actually quit our jobs, right? So then we said, okay, let's do some little bit of planning, save a reasonable amount of money. When we take a year or so to survive, right? Don't spend on exotic things, save enough money so you can survive for a year or so. Figure out, right, what could you do, right? How can you earn money, right, from day one, right? While your ideas are there, not figure out what to do, just figure out, make yourself a little bit of business planning, take care of that. So that's what we worked on, right? Making sure at least we have saved something reasonably.
Was it that easy to start? I mean, from a family front, it's at least we South Indians generally don't have such a encouragement from the families to start a business, right?
I don't think anybody, I wouldn't say except one, hardly myself and Vatsa, we started, co-founder. I'm not sure anybody really, my friends and colleagues, nobody said, you're doing a great thing, right? It's pretty much in a way the hell you are living a job, right?
Correct.
I'm not sure anybody, I think it's way back in 2008. I don't think there was a startup culture was there in India, right? Literally risk, right?
Yeah.
We said we'll figure out. We were confident that what do you do worst case? Friends can always go get a job, right? Getting a job not a challenge. Because we were fairly competent and confident that we had enough skills to be able to get a job. These are the concerns. We said, let's try it out, right? We just jumped in, right? We knew that we could do something, right? Without knowing what we'll do, right? So we said we'll figure out something on the way.
Right. Yeah. And what was the first thing that you worked towards once you got started?
See, I think it took a month, a couple of things I wanted, right? Because we never had an idea of entrepreneurship. What should the company do, right? We had a lot of ideas. What idea will click? How do you know, right? So a couple of things, I find, some insightful books, See, I already had read the HP Way book. So a lot of culture was ingrained because I work in a great company. We understand people management, business, fairly amount, But then I think the Built to Last by Jim Collins was an amazing book, right? What does
actually most people don't realize that HP was one of the original Silicon Valley companies, right?
Yes.
So a lot of people actually don't think about it or don't realize that.
Yeah. So I got to read quite a few books, right? The Jim Collins, Built to Last, and then Made in Japan, for Sony, Marriott. So 3-4 books actually were. One of the things we realized was, what is everlasting for a company? Products will come and go. What is everlasting is the values and things. Right? So we should spend time defining the company's values, right? Long goals and objectives and values, right? So spend a month or two defining what we should do, right?
Fantastic.
And even today, I think, because even today, Jim Collins talks about everlasting values, right? Because he calls the BARC framework, right? But
Right.
So because you don't try your idea to a technology, it should be long lasting, right? So what have we defined today? I think we didn't know what we'll do, but we set the direction, right? This is the direction they're going to go.
Where did you start it from?
Bangalore, right? Home, Bangalore, 2008.
Okay.
Home. Just first was about figuring it out, right? We started the proprietorship, right? Because I spoke to my editor. He said, private limited is lot more overheads. Just 2 of you. Why don't you want to start now? Just give it a try. See if it works well, then you can convert to a private. Start at home. First was to figure out a name, logo, branding, register the company. It's quite a bit of work, right? Those days things were not as digital as we have today. You have to run around Italy, right?
Correct.
Took a month and two to figure out, right? Figure out, not easy to do, right? So we have to get the company registration done. Then you have quite a few, right? The TAN number. Again, it took a lot of time to get a TAN number and a PAN number for the company. Right? You have to do a lot of papers, scan, literally fill up papers, form, and submit them, right? So looking back, 15 years back, it looks today it looks stupid, but that was the way it was today. It run around offices to get. So it almost 1 or 2 months went around in doing this paperwork, right? Paperwork. Then we defined these goals and objectives. Then we wrote the name, right? I wanted the name to be Indian, right? Let's figure out what is available. Then somehow we were always into innovation and technology, right? So we just figured out Vigyan Labs was the name suited our goals and objectives, right? And then so there was a name available, domain name was available. Registrar could accept the name, the logo. So we create the name. And then quickly set up a website, right? We set up a website, found out what's available. So just bought a computer at home, new computer at home. Then set up the website. First thing was set up a website and put your LinkedIn profiles. And once you put that, after a month or so, I think once you put the profiles in LinkedIn and website, you want somebody in there. I was in various communities in Bangalore in terms of, there was a special interest group on, on knowledge management. I was in many groups. From HP, I was participating in many groups. A couple of guys called me. Said, okay. Especially the Mindtree folks. So Rajdatha from Mindtree called me and said, okay, hey, you are free. Can you give us some consulting work for me? Do some work for me and reuse and all that. So literally I went and met him that day. It's the first real business, right? On our own. So then worked with him, got a MSA done. Then we did a consulting work with him. That was the first check we got, right? It was an amazing thing to do. I think after 2 months of starting, we got a first check. That's how we started, right? And after that, Raj used to give us some more business. And slowly, a lot of other people who came to know us, right? Started getting in touch with us. We just had 2 people. We slowly started, 2 of us started getting busy. We had a few more people joining us, right? For time. A few more colleagues, friends joined us. That's how we started our journey, right? And that's how we started.
So it's all the way bootstrapped. Did you ever raise funding?
At the time, I think it was just bootstrapped, right? No funding. We bootstrapped, right? It was consulting. We just started consulting with the aim to do something, right? But we are trying to figure out what to do. But you have to keep your, stove burning, right? So we started working, right? So we had revenue from, maybe after 2nd month onwards, we had money coming in, right?
Tell me, Srinivas, today you also advise, mentor a lot of startup founders. Would you recommend them to get started the way you did, where you first start a company and then figure out what do we do? Broadly, you know what you wanted to build products, you wanted to build technologies, but you didn't start with some core idea. But today, if someone approaches you, would you advise them first start a company and then figure out?
I think today the world has changed, right? Because the product life cycle has become smaller. We will not have such a leeway, right? Leeway. So I think you need to think of an idea and be there, because with the internet and sort of tools available today, you can figure out a lot more things, right? Easy to figure out. The days, I think things were different, right? Sales and marketing can be done online. So life cycle is 2-3 years short. You can't jump in and figure out, right? I think people need to do a lot more planning. Think a little bit more before jumping into the market. Because just like, see, there are 7 billion people in the world, and every part of the world is connected, right?
It's become 8 billion now.
Whatever I am thinking, somebody else thinking the same way, right? I think the life cycle is shorter. I think you need to think. I think what we did, differently, right?
Today, things were a lot slower then. Now it's so fast.
Yeah, slower there, yes. So fast. The product life cycle is short. The churn is shorter. So you need to quickly figure out what you need to do. And if it doesn't work, you change your gears, right?
Correct. And is it the post-COVID or during COVID is when you moved to Mysore?
No, 2008, middle of 2008, right? I moved to COVID, right? May 2008, I moved to Mysore because my mother was here. Otherwise, every weekend from Bangalore to Mysore, we used to come, right? Come here. Parents were here, and the other passed away. Mother was alone. Almost do every Friday evening drive down from Bangalore or Saturday morning drive down. So I always do it. And I decided, okay, I'm doing literally traveling so much. Why can't I move to Mysore, right? So I moved into the 2008.
That's a big shift, right? I mean, this
Yeah.
must have been doubted or questioned by most of your friends and peers more than you becoming an entrepreneur.
I think a lot of friends questioned. Same time, we also got some consulting work from Excel Soft in Mysore. Sudan was a great so I also got a business there locally, right? So locally there.
Right.
So anyway, I was traveling from Bangalore to Mysore for consulting work. So I was sitting in Mysore to do that. So that project came in. So we almost got a 1 year
So that
project.
became a bit of an anchor for you to move to Mysore.
Anchor for, yeah, move to Mysore. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Actually, I keep talking about there are very few such companies in India who have helped build startups. I was shocked first time I came across some NASSCOM event. There are a lot of about 15 small companies from South Korea had come, and their size of companies starting from as small as $500,000 to I think the biggest was some $26 million something.
Yeah.
15 CEOs, and we were given profile of each of them. They were, it was how NASSCOM events happen, right? And I looked at each of their profile, that 500K company to the biggest company, everybody had LG, Samsung in their client list. Everybody. I was like amazed. How is it that even a 500K company has LG and Samsung as their client and the biggest? And when I asked them, they told me that this was back in 2011, 2012. The guy told me that there are 2 or 3 companies who started like us, small, and they're multi-billion-dollar companies. Those days, this unicorn terminology was not there. They didn't say there are unicorns. They said that 2 or 3 of them have become billion-dollar plus companies, starting as small, and all these LG and Samsung work with the startups. That's when I started thinking, we don't have a company like that in India who actually works with small companies and supports them. I think only thing I came across when I looked around was HCL, where at least there were many guys who had come out of HCL and they were talking good about HCL. I don't really know whether HCL was also giving them some business, but what you're saying, at least Excelsoft doing it, was it only for you, or were there other companies also moving to Mysore and Excelsoft supported them or encouraged them with business?
I don't know too many companies because there are not companies moving to Mysore, right? Not many were there. Moving to Mysore was rarity, right? Rarity.
Oh,
at the time,
total rarity. Yes. Even today, it's not as. I think maybe post-COVID, it's more accepted. But but what about talent? As you started working towards more core technology work and building products, was it easy to stay focused within Mysore? You never got tempted that you should move to Bangalore?
No, I don't think. See, what happened was that, so basically like some of the core product engineering you have to do, you have to build the skill, the knowledge in-house, right? Because we found that in a large extent, the skill available talent pool in Bangalore was big, but majority were in services companies, right? The services companies and the product, the mindset is different, right? Completely different, right?
Correct.
If you look at 8, 10 years back, not many product companies were there who did bootstrap from scratch, right? Who built everything from scratch, right? Literally. So a product was designed in US, some was outsourced to India, right? We never had the knowledge, skills. So we tried out, experimented hiring laterals to the service companies. I don't think it worked out, right? So I could, of course, get some few people to move to Mysore, but it didn't work out well, right? Because in a service company, you say what customer tells you what to do. In a product company, customer doesn't tell you. Customer tells his problems. You have to figure out what needs to be, right? Or sometimes customer may not even tell you. You need to figure out, look at the market, look at the problems, right? A broader set of problems, and think what problem can you solve in a manner which is economical to both, right?
Correct.
And we are pretty much, I think, groomed all the talent in-house, right? Hired a smart people in the universities in Mysore. And because having been brought up in Mysore, I think in the initial days, most of the professors used to find some smart guys around there. So always recommend to us, okay, these guys are doing something here, going to go and talk to them, right? So I don't think in the initial days we did any real campus hiring or something. People referred us, professors in the JC and I referred us people, right?
So it became an organic funnel for you.
Yeah, funnel for you. And it's been continuing even today, right? People find that somebody has a different thinking, right? Different kind of thinking, wants to do something exciting. And we get a referral from a professor saying, hey, this guy seems to be exciting, likes to do exciting. He's a smart guy. He wants to do some exciting work. Why don't you talk to him?
So, what was that moment of, okay, it was where your friends and family also said that they started saying that, okay, uh, you did a right thing. What was that point of time?
Maybe in 2008, 9, I think we started getting reasonable revenue, right?
That time they said, okay, good, you
I think
moved
it was
out and
coming,
you
but
leave your
still always doubts were there. We'll always used to compare what you would have been somewhere, you've been there, right? You would have been a CTO somewhere,
Right.
finally look at what you need, right? What you need finally, fundamentally, right? You need, something to eat, the place to stay. I think we had a place to
Correct.
stay, a vehicle to
So,
move.
so
And,
no point you regretted
I don't
that
think
you
so.
should have probably stuck it out, or probably should
Yeah.
have taken a investor and then started. At no point of time you had that.
In the beginning, I don't think slowly as we started growing, once we had an idea, product idea in mind, right? Once we moved to Mysore, we were experimenting, right? Figuring out what to do, right? What product to do. There were many ideas which came. We did many prototypes, right? Somewhere down the line, we finalized, okay, this product, this idea seems to be better, right? Better.
Right.
And once we did that, I think we got a seed from step. And we had friends and family probably got some investment, right? Because it takes quite a bit of money to build a product, right? But although we had a consulting business going on, we had a small amount of funds coming from friends and family, which helps us to
So, what was the first product success that you saw?
Product success was basically in 2013-14 we had got the first version of the product, energy management, right? We had many ideas, prototypes we made, but in the end we choose that we look at the whole world, right? So and how we focus on energy management was that in same around 2010 we jumped into Aadhaar, right? We were doing the work for Aadhaar.
How did that again happened in a consulting mode itself?
Yeah, in consulting mode.
Okay, you got asked to be part of the team.
Part of the team. Then was we building the infrastructure, right? We're designing the whole infrastructure and sizing, couple of design data center. We figured out that this whole system requires a massive amount of IT infrastructure and power and cooling, because power always has been an issue in the country, right? Wherever you go, you want a megawatt of power, getting a megawatt is not easy, right? There's a special line for you, and it's not easy. And when we started, the data center was being designed, till the data center was designed, we were in a co-location, right, center. We started putting the servers together and seeing, we saw the amount of energy being consumed was way too high.
Right.
And we looked at all the products in the market. We found that, nobody had looked at energy as a problem, because just look at the various ecosystem players, right? Each person was focused on improving their product. Intel was focused on making the next better chip, right? 40 nanometer to 30 nanometer. So power management energy was a secondary. It's not the critical, primary goal, right?
It's not their domain or not in their.
Although there was some focus, on each person they did a little bit on the power management on their side, from the processor to the operations to the applications. Nobody looked at holistically everything, right? Everything together and said, what does it take, right? So after the Aadhaar project was over, it was in the mind, right? That, we did some prototypes, experiments in the lab, figured out that, there's a way to do and reduce energy consumption on, IT equipment, right? So when we look at the whole world, globe, started researching, we found that, because we always have been told that airline industry is the most polluting one, it consumes a lot of energy, right? When you look at that point in time, I think IT energy consumption globally was actually as much as the airline industry. Said, oh, wow, something new to us, I think. And this is going to grow. Within IT industry is going to grow big, right, globally. Data centers are going to come, a lot more things are to grow, cloud is going to come in. There are going to be billions of devices. Even if they optimize, the growth is much faster than so they said there's a big opportunity. That's where we should start doing something, right? So that's where, we started experimenting in the lab, figured out 2013, 14. I think we filed, initially, even before starting in the world, when we had the ideas, we started filing patents. One of the things I had learned from my HNSP is that, when you have some great idea, don't wait, right? Because, opportunities are there. Somebody may copy your idea anyway. So just start filing patents.
They are quite a cost, right? For a startup to even think of doing it at that time, there was no government schemes to support you on IT filing or anything like that.
I think, see, what we did was, because we had fairly expertise, almost a decade of experience in, filing patents. So we did everything ourselves, right? We could write the entire claims
Okay.
ourselves, pretty much. We did everything.
Okay.
What a lawyer could do. We did pretty
Okay.
much everything. 90% of the work we did ourselves, right? Ourselves. And then we got one friend in US who had a lawyer, knew the lawyer. So I just took the minimal fee of, just the filing fees and minimal paperwork, because we did all the paperwork, right? The prior answers, the claims, pretty much we wrote, in the first week,
Right.
we wrote everything on our own. So that helped us to, I think our prior knowledge of, spending so much years in Helmut Packard, writing patents, working with attorney, helped us to, really focus on how to file a patent.
Oh yes. Otherwise,
cost, right?
that cost can drown you today, right? I mean, for a startup to think of doing it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So, in this whole journey, what was the you thought? See, one is that moment was that Aadhaar effort gave you a perspective that energy is something which is obviously the area. So that became your North Pole, so to speak, right? That you want to be focused at that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that has been eating into you that you should be taking up or working on that apart from this?
The other one was gave us idea, but also climate change, right? Because we saw right, as we started seeing at least last 7-8 years back, we saw climate change, disasters happening around the world. Slowly, if you just look at then when only once we looked at energy as a problem, we started looking at the climate change, environment. We are seeing that it was a bigger problem, right? Not just globally, And when we started using the product, so our IT product worked fairly well. Customers who were talking said to us that, okay, hey guys, what you're doing is amazing. Can you do more? Can you look at the building energy? Can you look at many things, right? Many other things, right? So I think a lot of things, feedback came from a lot of our customers and channel partners saying that, can you address a bigger market, right? Why are you so narrow? Right? So I think that's one. Then the climate change happening.
Right.
Happening. So all these things, I think, it made us, pivot in a certain different way, right?
Correct. Is there anybody, a person I'm asking you, who's been influential in the way, your life shaped up, right? Even either from going to IIT Bombay. Of course, you did mention the professor who was very supportive in your first product building exercise. But are there other people or any individual who's been significantly influential in your life and who's helped you in the way you think today or do things, that somebody is influenced that you?
There could be probably not a person, not one person. There are many people. I think one of the things I used to do in the school was to read a lot of books. Spend a lot of time in reading. Weekends we used to have only the city center library, and I studied in demonstration school that we call DMS today. DMS had an amazing library, right? Amazing, impressive library at that time. At that time, we had access to a lot of books, magazines, journals, Scientific American. Many journals were there.
Right.
Very good. We used to read. Right? All the spare time, we should simply run into the library and read some books. Because we also used to spend time playing cricket, running around. Spend some, books. Right? Read some books. All the time is to be aware of what is happening. Couple of people I would say influence, right? Books, I think I was inspired by people like Michael Faraday, Edison, because we just look at the life history, read all the books about them, right? We read the books in the school about life history of all these famous people, right?
Right.
That was the impressed us, motivated. And then school also, there was, one person in the physics teacher, and Nagaraj Rao, used to call him NRN. I think, he was a different kind of a person, He asked me to, I loved physics a lot. And
which school?
DMS, right? DMS, yeah.
DMS, yeah.
And he used to give me access to the lab, right? I used to go to the lab, and every year we used to have a science exhibition. He always used to tell me, can you do something? Tell me what you want. So with whatever resources were in the lab, he used to somehow give me something, right? So we used to do experiments in the lab, go and do interesting experiments in the lab. I think he was probably one of the guys, person who inspired me, right? To try out things, right? And then other person was my father, probably whatever I wanted to try, right? I think, I broke a lot of things at home, broke things. I think, just to accept it, right? Accept it, things the way I am, right? I broke things. And then repaired things. Of course, I also repaired a lot of broken things. Yeah? So I used to play with gadgets. We had very little gadgets.
Right.
but
Mostly
broke
radio and open it and close.
radio. We used to repair radios.
Okay.
Learned repairing radios with my friends. In the school, I think Mr. Nagaraj, I actually made a small telescope. Telescope, small one.
Oh,
Then when I reached the 10th standard, right, in 1983, right, there was a Halley's comet was coming in there, right?
oh yes. That was a big moment.
Because then I think Mr. NR and our professor teacher in the school told me to contact Mr. S.N. Prasad. He's still a famous astronomer in Mysore, right? So, Dr. S.N. Prasad. I was in a regional college. I met him. Said you can make a telescope at home. I tell you, okay? So you can make one, build one. I had built a small lens one based on lenses. He said you can make a better one. Want to observe the Halley's comet? You can buy certain components from vendors. He had a telescope in the physics laboratory in the RC campus. So spent quite some time with him, right? He gave me a lot of reference books to read. And then in the 10th, 83 summer, right? We built a telescope at home, a homemade telescope. And I still have it today. It's almost 40 years later, it still works great. And I know if you look back, I just built a telescope. It was, I think, it just costed 300 rupees. So then, of course, I got a scholarship there. I got that 300 rupees was my scholarship. Exactly helped me to build the telescope.
And that was also big money then.
Yeah, that scholarship I spent. And I just got the lenses and other things, made the lenses. There was one optical shop, small optical shops in the small streets in Sajiro Road. So old man who was willing to help the student, he actually made what you call as eyepiece, right? There are two things. One is a mirror and eyepiece. If you have to make a fairly 6-inch telescope, you need a good quality eyepiece, Actually, he ground eyepiece. I think he hardly charged any 10-20 rupees, right? He's a very nice guy, optician who loves students. Who he made actually, I went and he made special eyepieces for me, right? Eyepiece for me. That's all the telescope. Then I had a friend, he's a doctor today, Mohan. His uncle had a workshop who, allowed me in Nanjangud. I used to travel all the way to Nanjangud to go and get the stand and right. So we looked at broken pieces of steel and other things in the workshop, and he allowed me to take that way. And we made a telescope, right? And probably it was I think a lot of people in Mysore came home.
Well, that's truly a true sense of maker, because it does take a lot of effort. Today there are so many infrastructure available and hardly as many people are motivated or driven to do things on their own. But I think that's amazing, Srinivas. I think that's possibly why you are what you do. So wonderful. Srinivas, thank you so much for this. And I would want to reach you once again to talk about what are you doing with Vigyan Labs, and also on the way you're proposing to do things for the future, and your energy solution, the product. So we'll want to catch you soon on the conversation. So until then, thank you so much. And those of you, I hope you got a good sense of what makes Srinivas that he does things with. So thank you once again, and keep watching and enjoy the ride.
Thank you.